Hello, my name is Shachar Peled, and this is a video in a series about evolution and faith, wherein we see how evolution is the basis of all faith and the criterion for all religions. And we are now speaking about the advent of the human, which we have shown is not the human as an individual, but the multi-human, the conglomeration of many human beings together. That is the human. And the person, the individual, is a cellular human. Is a uni-human. The uni-human is like a cell in the body. You cannot speak of the cell in the body as the representative of the body. The being, the multicellular being, is the being that you are talking about, not its elements. And when we speak of the human is the multi-human, not the individual humans that make up the multi-human. They are all important. The cell continues, and we shall see that the freedom of the individual is very important for the maintenance of the entire body. The body of humanity, the multi-human, cannot oppress the individual. Because then, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but basically, this multi-human is a cultural, spiritual being, in which the individual, the uni-human, as an animal, as a mammal, becomes involved, thus rising to a new level. Just as the cell, when it participates inside the body, is no longer a simple eukaryote or a single cellular eukaryote, a single cell, but becomes involved in a much greater thing than itself without losing any of its characteristics. The cell, the eukaryotic cell of multicellular beings, is not worse off than the cells when they were alone in unicellular beings. They are better off. And in the same way, the human, when it is within the multi-human, the mammal that is, now I have it. The mammal that is man, when it is within the human, then it brings to fruition all the wonderful characteristics that are possible, all the wonderful potential that is possible inherent in man, the mammal. Okay. So only the participation of the individual in his culture can actualize the individual's full personality. Children who grew up in environmental scarcity developed an irredeemable retardation. Wolf children that learned with great human flexibility to become pretty good wolves never managed to become fully human. They were human, of course, but they didn't realize their potential. To realize one's human potential is to do so in a specific culture. And only when the member of a culture assimilates the treasures of the culture in which that individual was born, only then can he become fully human. Because only then can he actualize the full human potential. In the Talmud, there is a question put to the sages, and they ask, what is preferable, the mountain or the overturner of mountains? Which is more important? The idea is this: who has preference? The person who preserves culture, that is the mountain. It's something static, stable. This is the traditions, the culture that is preserved. Or the innovator of culture, the one that overturns mountains, that has wonderful new things to add to the wealth of civilization. And the sages answered, the mountain comes first, because everybody needs food. What did they need? It means that the preserver of culture comes first because everybody needs the basic treasures of civilization. Everybody needs someone who has wheat who can then they can grind flour and make bread. Everybody needs to eat. One cannot add and innovate and add more to civilization before one becomes civilized. One cannot be facile with one's language and write poetry before one acquires a language. And to acquire a language, you need a civilization. You need people speaking the language. And to gain depth in a language, you need dictionaries and people who preserve the ideas that become crystallized in words, the many thoughts, the many concepts that are always becoming new and being innovated and renovated. All these things are part of culture. This is what civilization does. And when you take this into yourself, when this becomes integrated in your personality, then you can explore the full potential of your personality. So we need language speakers before we speak the language. One cannot make cultural revolutions before we understand and assimilate the culture that needs a revolution. The ability to preserve what has been transferred by tradition is the key for building the basic edifice. Human capital in the spiritual sense, cultural sense, goes from one generation to the next and creates the next generation's structure. We are all standing on the shoulders of our forefathers. We are all the products of the great toil of generations after generations of humanity. Beginning from the technology that we use, the food we eat, the language we speak, the ideas we think of, the methods we use to raise our children, nothing is natural. All our heritage is from our fathers, including the potatoes that Columbus brought from America. So the natural for the human, the multi-human, is civilizations. That is our nature. So you cannot rip away civilization and become that noble savage conceived by Rousseau. There is no noble savage. There is civilization. Savages are not savages. They are civilized. That's their civilization. You cannot rip off the culture and be free, because the culture is what makes you human. You can change it. You can learn to be free as a fully realized, actualized human. But the romantic idea that you can strip away civilization because civilization oppresses, that's a problem. And we will speak of it in later videos. How do we cope with this constant tension between the wonders of civilization as something that raises us up, raises the humanness, and the dangers that civilization will oppress us as individuals? And this has this needs some lengthy discussion. It is the general cultural personality that creates the conscious basis and the existential context of the personality of individuals. It is also enriched by individuals and receives from each individual the genius and glory of each individual personality. What would culture be without the grandeur, the genius of individuals? Where would human perfection be without the amazing abilities that certain people know to extract from civilization and top it, and take talent and become more talented, learn everything that their culture gives them and take it to the next step? The greatness of a culture is based on the greatness of the individual within it. everything that the individual takes from his culture, thus building his personality, he returns to the culture and revives it and energizes it. The small but still raw talent of little Mozart encountered music through human interfaces, a great many human interfaces. The people who were listening to music, the carpenters who were building pianos, the persons who were tuning the instruments, the evolved system of notation, all the music that was done before Mozart. And he, the talented individual, was carried by this huge wave to a new terra incognita that his spirit quarried from reality, from potential reality. And he opened a new and wide avenue for the music that is in the soul of the many, the music that is the legacy of the many, and is also the legacy of those individuals that in the future will continue to increase it, to take it up. So when the multi-human lacks certain specific characteristics, the individuals, the uni-humans, are incapable of giving their talents their full reign, their full range. Because if it's not there in the culture, what will the individual do with it? A culture without notation cannot bridge between Beethoven and Beethoven's orchestra. A culture without math cannot record energy equals mass times the speed of light squared. You need the math. You need the culture for the genius of the individual to become manifest. More of this in the next video.